my grandmother decided to buy 100-pound sacks of whatever, and that's how the grocery business really started.
It was established on very sound principles by my father and my uncle.
We knew all customers by name. That was a must.
As long as we're viable, we've got to give back. We don't get anything without giving.
I got multigrain English muffins, which are only 4 points on Weight Watchers, and lemonade for my grandson Dominic's birthday party on Saturday, and I'm still headed to pick up the ice cream.
It's just another typical day at the grocery store for Barbara Butcher, who comes in several times a week. But there is nothing typical about her choice of where to shop.
My generation would be the third generation, and my kids and my brother's kids, and now they've got the fifth generation coming along. So we're a 5-generational Bashas shopper.
It was Barbara's grandmother who passed down this tradition.
As soon as Chandler opened, the store on Boston Street opened, she was probably one of the first shoppers there. And I was talking to my cousin the other day in Mesa, and she said, I remember going with Grandma Knox to the Boston Street store in her 1941 Chevy.
Another loyal customer has carried out her grandmother's tradition as well. Monique Sherman's grandmother was devoted because the owners of Bashas always gave back to the neighborhood.
She wouldn't shop anywhere else. She would only shop there, and it was her favorite store, and she obviously told me and everyone about it.
That store on Boston Street may have been the first in the Phoenix area, but was not the first store for the Basha family in Arizona. But in order to tell the story, we need to go back in time, the beginning of the 20th century. The place, New York. In 1884, Tanus Basha immigrated from Lebanon to America. 2 years later, he sent for his oldest son, Najib, who was only 16 at the time. 15 years later, Najib fell madly in love with another Lebanese immigrant, a young 16-year-old girl named Najibi. They married in 1901 and soon started a family. But in 1910, instead of staying in New York, Najibi's sister persuaded the Basha family to come join her out west, where the mining towns of the Arizona Territory were full of promise and supposedly lots of greenback dollars. Their 5-day train trip ended in Congress Junction, Arizona. Disappointed by what they found, months later, the family then moved to a different mining community in Ray, Sonora, Arizona, where they opened a dry goods store. Destroyed by fire, it was rebuilt. But after a second fire burned most of the inventory, the oldest daughter, Edna, suggested the family move to the Phoenix area. They listened to their daughter, and in 1920 opened what was called the Boston Store, a general merchandise market on East Boston Street in Chandler, east of Phoenix. After a long illness, Najib died in 1932, leaving the family near bankruptcy, and Najibi a widow with 8 children. Their father's death meant sons Ike and Eddie were now in charge of the family business. That very same year, Ike and Eddie decided to open another store 5 miles south of Chandler, located in a community known for growing cotton called Goodyear, which later became Ocotillo. Ramona Felix, Ike and Eddie's niece, the daughter of their sister Mary, recalls those days.
I remember the first store here in Ocotillo. It was, they had everything, tools, horseshoes, nails.
The new store would be the first store to bear the family name. And it was Najibi's daughter Camille who made a suggestion that finally set the 2 stores on the right course.
Our Basha store was mostly mercantile. There wasn't much traffic. So she said to my grandmother, "Mother, why don't we sell groceries?" And so my grandmother decided to go buy 100-pound sacks of whatever, and that's how the grocery business really started, my grandmother and my Aunt Camille.
Playing a vital role in Basha's history and success is the Felix family. Raymond Felix married Ike and Eddie's sister Mary. Both of them, along with their 8 children, worked in the company. Today, family members still hold key positions. Fred Felix, Ike and Eddie's nephew, remembered his first job at store number 1, paying special attention to the customers and the competition that still remains today.
We knew all customers by name. That was a must. And we had a competitor that was across the street, George Waiwa. I remember that we'd print our signs, put them up on the window. 25-pound bag of flour at 19 cents, if you can imagine that. And we finally got into a tug of war with pricing, and the Hayden Flour Mills in Tempe called us and said they were going to quit sending us flour if we didn't quit the pricing war. So they'd go down, we'd quickly print another sign and maybe go down 2 cents if we had to, you know. But we were always going to be cheaper.
Soon there would be store number 3 in Mesa. Eddie's wife, Esma, remembers.
I loved it. It was great. We had great business, and I loved working in the stores.
I remember early on growing up in our family home with my aunts and my uncle and my dad, that they would get up every morning at 3 o'clock and go to the market to buy produce for the 3 stores that they had. They had a work ethic about them that they imbued in all those that they were associated with. They certainly imbued it in me. I think it is symbolic that we're here, that we're doing this interview here at the corner of the first store that my dad and my uncle opened in 1932. Symbolic in the sense that I earned my first dollar sweeping the store. I was 9 years old. Now, I know that was grossly inflated as far as value for work done, but it was the notion of working. It was the notion of being responsible.
And the idea of being responsible was second nature to Ike and Eddie's sisters. The young women played a huge role in the company, influenced by the strength of their mother, Najibi, some taking on positions traditionally held only by men.
There's no question that a number of my great-aunts were ahead of their time. My great-aunt Larice was a buyer and bought all of the groceries for the company at a time when women weren't buyers. In fact, it was unheard of. My great-aunt Camille was CFO, treasurer, accountant. I mean, so many things in one. You know, it was just a family pulling together to make a business happen. And so everyone had a job.
And the strongest of the women, Najibi.
She was the matriarch, the real matriarch. She was a beautiful woman. She was humble, and she was smart.
She had good sense, a good head on her. Everyone loved her.
My grandmother was the matriarch in our family. She was an incredible woman. She couldn't read or she couldn't write.
But she remembered everything. How, we don't know.
I think later on in life, that's what propelled me to become so involved in education, because I lived in a household where my grandmother was unable to read or write.
As the years passed, Bashas grew along with Arizona. The two brothers shared the same name, but led with different styles. Maybe just one of the keys to their success.
Eddie was always teasing, and I guess his son takes after him that way. But he was a teaser, and he would always crack jokes with us, and very easygoing.
He was a good Samaritan, I could say that. Very good man. Like his son, he was very charitable.
He never took advantage of anybody. He never cheated anybody. He ran a clean shop his entire life. And I think that's the personification of Bashas.
And Ike?
Ike was a very detailed man, and we tried not to make any mistakes with him.
He was a very intelligent person, and Ike, wherever he went, he was respected. He was humble, but he also was strict.
Oh, he was a very loving man, very firm, very kind.
As the number of stores continued to grow and prosper in the 40s and 50s, bad news was on the horizon. Ike's back started hurting, and for 4 years, Ike and Eddie kept a secret. Ike had cancer and died soon after his 50th birthday, leaving his wife Mary and 5 children.
Oh, it was sad. It was a tragedy. And I don't know, I knew I had to go on. It's so sad that he went so young because he loved his children. Johnny was 4.
I can remember, and I think about it, at the time I was too young to realize, but at the time my father was dying of cancer, and he knew it, and his brother, my Uncle Eddie Sr., knew it. And I can remember coming out here with them, and my uncle would always drive, and my dad would sit in the front passenger seat, and there was like a jump seat in the middle that I would sit up on. And I can remember coming out here to Ocotillo on these concrete roads, and they were really bumpy because they were concrete. And they would play a game and stress how much they loved me. You know, do you know how much I love you? My dad would say to me. And he would say, for all the stars in the universe, I love you that much. And then my uncle would say, do you know how much I love you? And at the time, I didn't realize it. I thought it was just a game we were playing. But I think that was my dad's way of telling me that he loved me and he was saying goodbye.
After Ike's death, Brother Eddie's responsibilities increased.
I think Eddie lost his right arm when he lost Ike. Yeah, he lost his right arm. Because they were a good team.
Wanting to be more self-sustaining, Eddie expanded the company, including buying ranches and a huge dairy farm out of state.
Eddie was so aggressive. He didn't want to stay in one place.
The grocery stores in Arizona continued to expand as well, but the company was at a crossroads.
Did we want to stay in the grocery business, or did we want to do other things? Did we want to continue with the dairy business and the ranching business? And we owed the bank an untold amount of money.
To make matters worse, Najibi, the family's guiding light, now in her late 70s, passed away in 1966. In early 1968, her daughter Larice died, only to be followed by another heartbreak for the family. That same year, Up Bashas Sr. died at the age of 57, a turning point in the family's future, and all heads turned to Eddie's son, Eddie Jr.
I just trusted. I thought he'd do it. He had the brains and had good people working with him.
We were so far flung, and we owed so much money that when my dad died, it was impossible to continue. In fact, a history of Bashas wouldn't be fair unless I mentioned the name Weinberg. Adolf Weinberg was a very dear friend of my father's in California, and he financed dairy farmers.
There was a time, though, when Eddie had given money to Weinberg's son to help him out.
My husband went to the bank and got the money. And that's what started the friendship with Mr. Weinberg and my husband.
When my dad died, the Bank of America called me in and said, we want to talk to you because your dad had borrowed so much money and it's over the legal limit for animal unit. What are you going to do about it?
But Eddie Jr.'s bleak prospects all changed when his father's friend with a German accent repaid the favor from years earlier.
And I'll never forget that day. He said, this boy, he called me this boy, and the tears are coming down his face. He says, this boy's father was my best friend, and whatever this boy needs, I'll co-sign it. And Mr. Weinberg co-signed the note. Within 12 months, I was able to pay off the cattle loan down to the limit, and I didn't need him the second year. But he helped me. And those are lessons you learn in life, you know. You help people. Not only do you help people, people help you.
From that moment on, Bashas started to soar. Eddie Jr. returned the focus to the land of his birth, the place he loved most.
I love Arizona, and I always thought, wouldn't it be great Basha businesses could be in every county in Arizona. It was a goal I had early on.
Following his dream, the first location to get a store outside of Maricopa County, Sedona. In 1977, the Red Rock country welcomed its first Bashas.
One of my favorite trips is we drive to Sedona. And Eddie'd make it kind of a working trip, unbeknownst to me, but we'd go to the store and check the store. And I remember being probably 8 years old, and it was a tough day at the store, and they were understaffed. And Eddie looks at me and says, "Get on that register and start bagging." And I looked at him like, I don't know how to bag. But I did what he said, so I bagged. I bagged groceries.
Eddie's dream did come true. Today, the Basha family has a store in every county in Arizona and 2 others in New Mexico and California. Also today, all 4 of Eddie's older sons are in the business. They all started out just like their dad, learning the basics.
A lady complained that I put her tomatoes under her eggs when I was bagging her groceries. And the manager had to sit down with me, had a talk, and explain to me that I couldn't do that. And I tried to explain that I would never do that. I understand that the eggs go on bottom, the tomatoes go on top of the eggs, but he said the customer's always right. And that night I went home and I told my dad I didn't want to work in the stores anymore. So he put me to work here at this facility in the warehouse, sweeping the warehouse.
We promote from among our own members whenever possible.
One of the reasons Bashas was back on track is that Eddie Jr. decided to treat employees like members of the family, just like his father and uncle did. In fact, no longer were people on the payroll called employees, but members.
Like a Basha family member, I, as well as the other 14,000 of us that are non-Bashas, we all share in the family.
In large corporations, employees come to work every day, punch a clock, and do their job. In a family, a team, a community, I think people give a little bit more of themselves. They care a little bit more. They'll stay a little extra longer if that's what's necessary. It's all about that little bit more, and that's what you find at Bashas.
We're family, and if you have a problem, we can talk to each other, and we support each other, and I love the benefits. I love everything about it.
I enjoy working with everybody. It's like a big family here. We help each other out.
It's an extended family all the way around. The people that I know, the people that I work with, people just in passing. It just, to me, is really a warm and friendly place to work.
And Basha's family of stores has one of the lowest employee turnovers in the country. There's an inside joke that says you have to be there 20 years just to get off probation. That commitment carries over to the customers.
You know, you want to see what does that watermelon look like? Well, let me hack it open for you. You know, who's going to do that? You know, nobody does that. So it's still, you can tell the family influence is there.
I only come here. I actually grew up here, and I know everybody, and everybody's real friendly, and I just really enjoy coming somewhere where everybody says hi, and it's just a nice small town feel to it.
People are always friendly. They get to know your name, and the food's always good. They have good specials, and seafood is really good.
More than the fruit, I think it's just the people. It's an honor to serve people, I think, as we all know, that are in the people business. So I think that's where your drive comes, that it's a privilege to serve people in the community that you live in.
Industry experts have honored Bashas for its longevity in one of the most competitive markets in the country.
They've concentrated on Arizona. They've not expanded on a worldwide basis. And again, I think they have a great love of Arizona, and they want to do well and serve their customers.
And one reason they've survived?
We're diversified. We were the first grocery store here in Arizona, if not really, the country, that understood different niches. Examples: Bashas' Dene, Native American stores, AJ's, serving the higher-end gourmet shopper. Food City, very value-conscious, quality produce, quality meats at a great value, with a Hispanic marketing niche. And then our conventional store, Bashas.
There's also Eddie's Country Store in Pine Top, Sportsman's Fine Wine and Spirits, and the newest format,
Ike's Farmers Market, which is going after that health-conscious aging baby boomer segment of our society that want to extend their quality of life by eating healthy.
The Basha family, they're good business people. They have great business sense. We've made a lot of great decisions in the past few years. Opening our own distribution center was a key decision. Buying the original Food City store and keeping it its own was a good decision. Buying AJ's and keeping them the way they are is a good decision. Lots of great decisions they've made along the path to growing.
I think we've survived because we have our own distribution center. I think my grandfather was really smart, getting involved in the wholesale business early on.
Located in Chandler, the massive distribution center operates 24 hours a day, housing and transporting frozen foods, meats, produce, and dry groceries. It's truly a state-of-the-art operation. Operations also expanded northward into a community that was being opened up commercially to non-Native Americans for the first time.
So when the opportunity arose to do business on the Navajo Nation, I jumped at it. Well, in 48 hours, they were down in my office. And we hand wrote out an agreement, and that was the beginning of our relationship.
In our Bashas in the markets, all our labeling, like the produce labeling, the meat, the bakery, everything is written in Navajo. I think it's a really warm feeling to the community because they see their language up.
I think our involvement with the Navajo Nation in our establishment of stores on the Navajo Nation and subsequently with the Apaches and the Tono Odoms has been a hallmark during my watch.
Eddie Bash's respect for the Native Americans was passed down by his relatives, just like his love of art. His Aunt Zelma was a respected artist who shared her talents with her young nephew.
Oftentimes was the responsibility of my Aunt Zelma to take care of me while everybody else was working. She was an artist, and she would take and draw pictures for me. I would say, draw an airplane. She'd draw an airplane, draw a rifle, draw a tree. But Zelma was an accomplished artist in her own right, and in respect to her influence in my life, she was the one that suggested that I personally and the company become involved in art. And the consequence of that is this museum that we have of Western art and Native American art. In fact, it's named in her honor. It's the Zelma Bashas Selmary Gallery of Western American and Native American art.
Anyone can come and view the incredible collection at corporate headquarters in Chandler, housed in the actual building of the Basha Brothers' first store, where one can still find the original sign in the attic. Downstairs in the gallery, visitors are amazed at what they find.
First of all, it's one of the best collections I've ever seen. You go to the Phoenix Art Museum, you don't even see things of this quality.
I love it. It's beautiful. And I think it's probably the best kept secret in the valley.
Another reason Bashas continues to not only survive but grow, well, it comes from giving back.
I'm a Girl Scout leader, and they kindly let us hold our Girl Scout cookie booths out in front of Bashas every year. And it's the primo spot to sell Girl Scout cookies, and so we're grateful. They're very community-minded, and we're grateful.
I can't do the things philanthropically that they do, but I can help by shopping at Bashas.
And over the course of history, when St. Vincent de Paul needed funding for something special, if we ran into a crisis, if there was a family in need, if we wanted to build a new building, it was always the Basha family that we turned to first.
It's imperative. It's imperative. As long as we're viable, we've got to give back. We don't get anything without giving.
So where does that instinct to give back come from? Najibi Basha.
She had all of these baskets and stockings full of fruit and tangerines, apples, and everything. And she gave that to all the children in the different schools. And she's very humble about it because a lot of them didn't know that was from the Bashas. She never bragged. She never was that type of a person.
I've heard Eddie many, many times referred to his grandmother, the Chibi, and his own parents, and the great responsibility that they felt as a family first, and then as a business, that it was much more than just their own company or themselves, but that they had a responsibility to the broader community.
As Bashas' family of stores continues to grow, what's the advantage of shopping with Arizona's family grocer?
Well over 99.9% of every dollar they spend stays in this community. It stays here in Arizona, and it goes back into our stores, it goes back into our people, and it goes back into our customers.
We're a part of Arizona and continue to be. So it's not just a place to do business, it's where we live. It's where we've grown up.
We are homegrown. We are Arizona. Our roots are here. Our lives are here.
Lives that were started from a family who has been in Arizona before it became a state. From a family that has a foundation built with the strongest brick of all.
A lot of love.
We're not here today and we're going to be gone tomorrow. We've been here for 75 years. We're going to be here for another 75 years and then some, because this is home.
To be here involved in the business today that my ancestors started, I think I have a sense of pride.
We wouldn't be here without our members, nor our customers, but it's the members that really make this company work.
My gratitude to all of those who work for the company and all of those who have shopped with us throughout the years. Without them, we wouldn't have a 75th celebration.
If I could say anything to our customers, thank you. Thank you for the years of support. It's you who keep us in business every day.
We appreciate your patronage. It's very important to us, and we look forward to serving you for another 75 years.